World War II was a period of great revolution in the women's workforce. At the height of the war, 19,170,000 women, single and married, were working in men's work fields. After the war, they were seen as more than just housewives. They were respected and seen as hard-working women. After the attack of Pearl Harbor, the United States had entered World War II. Men were needed overseas and at home. As the war dragged on, goods were scarce, and there was a desperate need for workers. Housewives looking to support their families while their husbands were at war took over jobs that were categorized as men's work. Women worked in factories specializing in war materials. They helped assemble submarines, aircraft, guns, sorted bullets, and many more things. They also worked in hospitals, offices, and other factories that manufactured goods. Women worked in a variety of positions during the war, though the aviation industry had the greatest amount of female workers. In 1943, more than 310,000 women, 65% of the total workforce, worked in the aircraft industry. Other industries also had a high increase of female workforce. The propaganda campaign, Rosie the Riveter, which was run by the U.S. government, can be thanked for this. Rosie was a fictitious character based on a real-life munitions worker. Rosie was a strong, bandana-clad worker who became one of the most successful recruitment tools for the United States at that time. The campaign stressed the need for patriotic women in the workforce, in newspapers, movies, photographs, articles, and posters. One of the most famous poster slogans is, "We can do it." The 1942 poster shows Rosie clad with the bandana, flexing her arm to show the strength of the American women. In 1943, Rosie the Riveter became a popular song written by Red Evans and John Jacob Lowell. Women also worked in the armed forces. 350,000 women who served at home and abroad worked in the armed services. Impressed by the British use of women in the war, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt and women's groups urged the government to exercise the idea. General George Marshall was one of the leaders who supported the idea of introducing a women's service branch in the Army. Congress created the Women's Auxiliary Army Corps, which later was known as the Women's Army Corps, in May of 1942. Known as the WACs, the women worked in 200 non-combatant jobs stateside. By 1945, there were more than 100,000 WACs and 6,000 female officers serving our country.
At the present time, it is of paramount importance that the women and girls of our country be given training so that they may do their share in the war emergency. How this training is given and who does it is of great interest to us all. To some of us, the National Youth Administration stands out as the agency which is doing the best job along these lines at present. Therefore, I congratulate Mr. Aubrey Williams on having inaugurated this training, and I congratulate the young people at having this administration with which to work. In the past 6 years, the National Youth Administration has done much to broaden opportunity for American youth. Today, it is broadening opportunities for service in the training of thousands of young women for war work. Some of this training has been in fields traditionally occupied by women. Thousands of young women are gaining experience in power sewing to meet demands occasioned by the war. Others are being trained in clerical work, in photography, and in poster work. During the training period, they also do productive work for the armed services, for the Red Cross, and for selective service corps. In many cases, they have released men for active duty in the armed forces. During every war, women have comforted the sick and ministered to the suffering. The demand for trained nurses is so great today that assistance is badly needed to relieve them from routine duties and hospital work. The NYA is preparing thousands of young women as hospital aides to take their places as assistants to our technically trained hospital staff. These young women are taking over such tasks as bed making, feeding and care of patients, sterilization of instruments, and assistance in laboratory and X-ray work. The value of NYA hospital aides was demonstrated beyond any doubt after the Pearl Harbor attack, when every hospital on Oahu Island requested their services. Reports from Honolulu authorities are that the manner in which they conducted themselves is a credit to our womanhood. NYA training in large-scale food preparation will also be of value in emergency situations. Men have always worked in the shops to supply man's needs in peacetime and war. But today, as increasing numbers of men are called to military service, young women must be ready to step into their places without loss of time.
After the war, the men came back and most women were laid off. If the United States did not enter the war, women may be still working as typical housewives. The war opened many opportunities for the women to become recognized and for the workforce of America to revolutionize into what it is today.